Hey, what's up there? This is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire, with another video for you. In this video, I want to talk about producer Effie Brown. An article has come out in the Hollywood Reporter talking about an incident she had on the program or the show Greenlight with Matt Damon. Now, I remember this happening a couple of years back, and I really didn't understand the whole in and outs of it, and I didn't pay too much attention to it. So I'm revisiting it here because this article has been published, and it talks a little bit about how she had a hard time getting work after being a part of Project Greenlight. So let's just read real quick what the article has to say, and then I'll go into an explanation of my perspective. It says, producer F.A. Brown, people didn't want to work with me after calling out Matt Damon on Project Greenlight diversity issues. Says the Game Changer film CEO reflects on the backlash she received following a controversial conversation she had on the HBO reality competition in 2015. I spoke up and got summarily smacked down. The producer reflects on the backlash she received in 2015 after arguing on air with Matt Damon and EP on Project Greenlight, a reality show that followed filmmakers as they directed features for the first time. Damon admonished Brown that diversity is for the casting of the film, not the casting of the show or behind the scenes. She responded with a sharp wow, signaling the frustrations faced by people of color in the industry, the fallout of which she describes here. I am grateful that it was me. I am grateful I had the common sense of my ancestors, my mother, my grandmother, my family, to know how to react in the moment, because it could have gone many different ways. A lot of the time, most of the time, there aren't cameras there when you are suffering microaggressions. Take Matt Damon out of it. This is happening every day. People just saw that one conflict, but there were many others. Or there were others, I should say. I only got paid to make the movie. I never got paid to do the series ever. That's exploitative. Sometimes I see it playing when I get on a plane and I haven't seen a single penny. They treated us secondary, even though, unbeknownst to me at the time, the show was built around my experiences. I was the creative producer in charge, and yet I was still viewed as sometimes less than my title, experience, and treated as such. I'm grateful to the producers, Magical Elves, who let that part of the story and the conflict stay in the series. I think they thought people would get it and hear how bad it can be when you're the lonely only in the room. Sorry. After I did Project Greenlight, and this is no secret, I suffered a huge backlash. I didn't work for a while. People didn't want to work with me because I spoke truth to power. People who speak up are usually marginalized and pushed back, called difficult, confrontational, you name it. I spoke up and got summarily smacked back down. I did not get embraced with open arms, nor did it work in my favor at first. Lee Daniels picked up the phone and called me. Hey girl, how are you doing? I said that I wasn't doing well, so he used his power and his influence to scoop me up and give me a job at his company. He still had to fight to get me on. Even the studio didn't want me. That is the truth. But Lee doubled down. That's what often happens. That's what often needs to happen. You need someone with power and the courage of their convictions to help. That's what Lee did, and so did my allies and Black Twitter. They had my back 1,000%. So I'm reading through this and trying to understand the entire situation, because I saw the show, I saw the clip, and still really didn't get it because I didn't watch the entire program. I just saw that little quick clip. And I think there are two sides to this argument, but the point I want to make, well, let's look at it this way. There's two sides to the argument in regards to Project Greenlight, that show, and what happened. But the reality of what she's saying is 100% accurate. And that is a problem in Hollywood that African-American filmmakers face, that we encounter racism, discrimination head on. And because there's so few Black filmmakers in the industry, when we speak up, we do get blacklisted, and there is not enough of us working in the industry to catch us when we fall. So where do you turn to when suddenly the industry closes those doors on you because you spoke up about racism? Now, the other part of that, speaking about the actual show, um, it's a little tricky because I think Matt Damon was trying to make a point, and I understand what he was saying, in the sense that she was saying that I guess they were doing a film around a African American woman who was I think a hooker or a prostitute, and then Fa was saying, well, we need to have diversity behind the camera to give this more authentic experience, which makes a lot of sense. But I think Matt Damon then came in and was saying that it should be on camera, meaning that the actress playing should be African American, but behind the camera, they're looking at the crew, the director, and they're looking at the resources that they had at the time, which I think were mostly white. And he was saying that from that white pool, he was just picking the most talented director. I think that's what his argument was. And I think that she was then trying to counter that by saying, well, we do need an African American director for this. So let's look at that clip. I think that's the best, because I could have this all wrong, but let's look at the clip because think that best explains what was going on there. So let's take a look at that.
I just want to bring up something. I just would want to urge people to think about whoever this director is, the way that they're going to treat the character of Harmony. Her being a prostitute, the only black person being a hooker who gets hit by her white pimp. You looking at this group right here and who you're picking and the story that you're doing. And I just want to make sure that we're doing
I will
our
say
best
that
foot
the
forward.
only team that's left with diversity is the team that announced that they like this script the most as it is. And that's Leo and Kristen. Everyone else had major problems with it, and with exactly the things that you're bringing up and exactly the things that we brought up to each other. So I think on the surface, they look like one thing, but they might end up giving us something that we don't want. And when we're talking about diversity, you do it in the casting of the film, not in the casting of the show.
Whew. Wow, okay.
Do you want the best director? You know what I mean?
I'm not mad, but hang on. I'm just with love in my heart. Even Leo and Kristen talked about, and we can roll it back, he said it was good having her because she has a different perspective that he wouldn't have even thought about when talking about women. They did talk about it.
Right. That's totally fair.
So, I have a problem with Harmony.
Everybody does.
In the room,
I have a
everyone
big
does.
problem with
and
it
I
as
don't
written.
look to just them to fix that, to be honest. I think we also have work to do, and then they will do it too, but I'm not.
You're right. That is something we have to think about.
I'm glad Effie flagged the issue of diversity for all of us, because filmmaking should throw a broader net, and it's high time for that to change. But ultimately, if suddenly you change the rules of this competition at the 11th hour, it just seems like you would undermine what the competition was supposed to be about, which is about giving somebody this job based entirely on merit and leaving all other factors out of it. It's just strictly a filmmaking competition. I think the whole point of this thing is you go for the best director, period. This is what we have, and this is what we have to choose. And the only thing I can go by is the work that they've done.
Okay, so wow, I'm looking at this now, and I'm saying wow, not to just kind of paraphrase what she was saying, but to kind of convey the complexity of what's going on here, because there are some dynamics, and I think context is important. I want to go back to what Matt Damon said here, and I'm not taking a side, but I do think he has a point, and I will be honest about that. And he says something here. Let's take a look at this.
And I just want to make sure that we're doing
I will
our
say
best
that
foot
the
forward.
only team that's left with diversity is the team that announced that they like this script the most as it is. And that's Leo and Kristen. Everyone else had major problems with it.
So I think what he's saying, Leo and Kristen, I don't know what their racial makeup is that he's saying that they're the ones that like the script as it is, and therefore I believe is what he's saying, that they should be the ones to be behind the camera. I do think his statement in making the generalization that diversity is in front of the camera, not behind the camera, that's absolutely wrong. All right, let's get that straight. So, but in context to how the rules are set up for this green light competition and what they're going for, I think he has a point in saying the team that likes the script as is the team that should be the one behind the camera. And I think that what Effie is disagreeing with, or maybe she's saying that we may need to look outside of that pool to find diversity because she feels that it's important. And then Matt is encountering and saying, well, no, it's not. That's changing the rules. What we need to do is find who are the best qualified, the best director, and the best director are the ones that love the script as is. So it's a little complicated there. So I can definitely see kind of both sides. But what I want to go back to is her statement in the Hollywood Reporter, where she's absolutely on point when she talks about how the Hollywood system works. And I'm sure that individuals like Wesley Snipes can attest to this. And especially if you are, I would say, I don't know if I can say for 100% for a black woman, but there is a tendency that if a black woman does speak up, she seems as if she's an angry black woman or she's being difficult. So they could be more apt to blacklisting you or not wanting to work with you, or your phone stops ringing. This is why it is so important that we have more black producers, black filmmakers with power in the industry, for when our people speak up and they say, hey, something's unfair here, and if they are blacklisted, that they have something to fall back on, that they have others out there, other producers and other directors who will embrace them and give them work. And that is the problem that we're facing right now. There's not enough of us, and those that are in the industry don't support those who are up and coming. And there's a bit of a fear that those who are up and coming may be more talented, and they may challenge them and displace them for fame and notoriety. So it's a very complicated issue. But again, I just want to go back to, I think in this article by Hollywood Reporter, she has a point 100%. And going to the actual Project Greenlight show, it is a bit complicated because Matt Damon, on one hand, has a point that we have to stick by the rules and go by the team that loves the script as is. Therefore, they're going to be the ones to direct it. We can't go outside of that pool to find a director of color. And I definitely see her point saying, well, we should. But in the end, Matt may have a more solid argument as to adhering to the rules, finding the best qualified director, because that's what the competition is supposed to be about, is finding someone who is good at their craft. But she raises such a very important issue about diversity and who's behind the camera and how they will treat the subject matter is also so very important. So that's all I have to say on this. This is very interesting. So definitely, I think it's very unfair that she had difficulty finding work. That was uncalled for. Anyway, this is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire. Until my next video, keep making films.